everybody want? What does everybody need?
Welcome to the season premiere of Harrell Wrestling Talk podcast, episode number 14. I'm Jacob Harrell.
And I'm Jonathan Harrell. We have a ton of news headlines for you. Not so much new stuff for the WWE shop, but and we also introduce a new bit for our for the football season. But we kind of wanted to start out by updating you on what we've got coming on in the next week. We are proud to announce some upcoming additions for our podcast, and we liked the word network that the WWE's been using, and we wanted to use that as well, but not for $9.99 though. We plan on keeping it free. So to group it into the HWT network, we will have this show, Harrell Wrestling Talk, but we're also going to move this show to Thursdays to make room for another show that we're going to be starting, and that will be Reality of Wrestling Report. We want to keep the show short and sweet, about 15 minutes, and you'll just get a post-show, a pre-show, wrap-up, as well as even some interviews from wrestlers there at Reality of Wrestling. And so we plan on releasing that starting next Friday, so we're definitely excited about that. And also next week, for our special guest for our pay-per-view predictions, we will be having, you may be familiar with them, a 2-minute video with a 2-year-old on YouTube that names wrestling entrances off their soundtrack. And so we're going to have Beckett and his dad Evan on next week, so we definitely can't wait for that, Jacob. I know you got to see the video. Definitely a cute little video, and it was just an awesome video, I guess.
Yeah, that's how I'm going to be as a parent. That's incredibly awesome. The kid, Evan, was awesome Beckett was awesome because when they did, like, Undertaker, he went, "Oh, yes!" and did the impressions. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome. We'll get some Reality of Wrestling Booker T's promotion. We'll get that report in. We'll get some promos, get some plugs with that. So we're expanding our network, and it's gonna be a kind of a great step in the right direction for our company / I guess network. Raw's season premiere Monday seemed more like a pay-per-view, if you ask me, rather than a Raw. It started with Y2J Chris Jericho versus Bray Wyatt and the family in a steel cage match. They had Dolph Ziggler leaking some Miz pictures. Another Total Divas match. Paul Heyman had a message for John Cena. Seth Rollins versus Sheamus. The NXT guys got a surprise match. Jerry Springer got hurt during the intervention. Adam Rose and the Bunny win. And the Bunny super kicked Heath Slater, so the Bunny has to be HBK. And the Authority destroyed Roman Reigns. Did the WWE up the ante to compete with Monday Night Football, Jonathan?
I think they did, just for the fact, you got on and right at the very, very first match, steel cage match. And so, they were going big early, and I think that they did a great job. You're going to have this, all year, though, for at least, 17 weeks, where Monday Night Football is going to be a big draw, and you're also moving your SmackDown show to a Thursday night, which just happens to be Thursday Night Football that will be starting up. And so, they're definitely going to have to elevate their level to compete, to just compete with the viewers.
Yeah, and it's a modern kind of version of Monday Night Wars because I'm sure WWE's always been worried about the NFL because the NFL is such a big draw. They luck out, though, that Monday Night Football isn't Sunday Night Football because that's where the big games are and that's where the big ratings are. So they kind of luck out in that situation.
Now, speaking about some of the events on Raw, I did like your boy Ziggler's stuff with The Miz. I thought that was really funny. Really, the topic was relevant with what was going on. And then the Jerry Springer bit, I mean, it, it wasn't bad, and I got some laughs out of it. I think the last time that he was on the show, though, I think I enjoyed it more because it was just over the top completely. People were coming out, and I think that went a little bit better. What did you think of the steel cage matches?
The steel cage match was awesome. I liked the Chris Jericho angle now that he's kind of hurt. That's probably his kind of step away for a little bit to be with Fozzy. What was the Bella twins' brother wearing? That was just like, you're going to be on national TV and you're wearing a white beater with a suit jacket. I mean, come on, man.
He's got fashion taste.
You
need to have some style, Jacob.
I don't have style, apparently. And
you're
also,
lacking.
Brie also has a new intro for music. That's awesome.
Well, we've talked about her recently, and it seems like the WWE is very high on Renee Young. Even so high that there's been recent talks that maybe she might get moved to the Raw broadcasting booth. Now, this puts all kinds of questions into the mix, but just to start out, who do you move out of the way to make a spot for?
Well, in order to do this, we got to kind of break down the three that we have. So they're not going to go with four. So you have JBL. He's kind of like the modern day Bobby the Brain Heenan. He's the heel commentator, and he makes all those jabs at all basically the other two commentators. You have Michael Cole, who's the play-by-play, and you kind of have Jerry, who's in the middle of that. He's the face commentator, but he doesn't really talk as much anymore. I think it's okay to put the crown down and let Jerry retire. What do you think?
I think that'd be the right spot. But then at the same time, when she's on the pay-per-view panel, she's heading everything. So I could also see her in a Michael Cole role as well. But it seems like Stephanie McMahon is probably her biggest supporter, trying to get more women in the spotlight. You've never had a woman down there. They've never had a woman on the pay-per-view panels, and so they're trying to bring in more and just get maybe some of the female viewers to tune in, just knowing that, hey, there's also a girl talking as well.
And I think that with this, it's great for her. She could actually, I'd rather see her in SmackDown. Put her in SmackDown. Let her be with JBL. Kind of work that angle out, and then bring her over to Raw. But I think a lot of this is just to keep her around because ESPN has been offering and offering and offering for her to leave, and this is kind of their way of keeping her.
Now, see, I would actually like to see them WWE throw some money around and get somebody like Michelle Beadle. Get somebody that, obviously she's a wrestling fan, and I think she would do great as well.
I agree with that. Well, Stephanie McMahon posted a video online of herself at a WWE corporate boardroom. She did a little promo about adding a wrestler to a match at Night of Champions. She added AJ Lee to the Divas titles match, making it Paige versus Nikki Bella versus AJ Lee. Later on, Mark Henry versus Rusev was added to the card. Which of these two matches are you looking forward to the most?
I think I'm looking forward to Mark Henry and Rusev. Not that I expect Rusev to lose by any means, but I'm more interested in that. I don't know what to do with the Divas. They're pushing the. I'm guessing Brie will come out and something will happen that'll kind of take Nikki out of it, and then it'll be down to Paige and AJ. So I'm kind of curious to see what'll happen there, I guess, as well. But what interests you?
I'm not really looking forward to Mark Henry versus Rusev just because Mark Henry's involved. He's slow. He's older. You do have this power versus power match, but those tend not to be as entertaining. But it'll be interesting to see how the youth of Rusev will match with that. I'm excited for the Divas. Do you think it's a good idea to keep the Bella angle around another month instead of it being Nikki versus Brie?
They are pushing this as much as they possibly can, and I don't know if they are possibly stretching this out as long as they can to cover a whole entire season of Total Divas and make that like a focal point in it. But it seems like this could have been settled a while ago, and they just haven't had big pay-per-view matches, audiences that they feel like they can finish this.
Hmm. It's an angle that could go a little bit longer. It'll be interesting seeing how it develops. Will John Cena get involved? As long as Nikki's a heel, I don't think he will get involved. But that's something when Daniel Bryan comes back, if they keep it around long enough, maybe he'll get involved with it also.
And I would like to see that. I think that'd be very entertaining. Well, we haven't even had our Night of Champions yet, or even really seen Brock Lesnar lately, but you don't need to have either to hear who is rumored to be his next opponent. And well, it's your boy, the Big Show, Jacob. You haven't we haven't seen the Big Show in a pay-per-view since he faced Brock Lesnar at the past Royal Rumble, which wasn't really a match either. Do you like the rumor, or do you think this will just be another squash match like he had before?
It'll be like the Rumble match. I think, though, it's going to be pound for pound. If you really look at the roster, if they're going to make Lesnar into the fighting MMA champ, this will be a great show of his strength and talent. Other than that, it's really not on paper. It doesn't even sound as entertaining as maybe throwing in someone else, maybe like a Randy Orton to the match. But I think it will do its justice, and I think it will push the story of Brock Lesnar another chapter. Do you see it being like Rumble, disqualification, 16 chair shots, kind of going with the theme of just doing one thing over and over and over again?
Not so much the one thing over and over. I think that they will just. I don't know if they're going to just try to have him suplex and suplex and suplex just to show his dominance. I could see, if they didn't have the match like they did at the Rumble, almost putting that in here, and that would fit perfectly with what they're trying to do now. But I just don't know why you would just kind of throw the Big Show in there. The only thing that I would want to see is back a SmackDown highlight forever with the super suplex off the top rope, breaking the ring down. I think that would be a perfect, because that was the Big Show and Brock, right? And so I think that would be perfect to do another a shot of that.
Yeah, I think Big Show though has lost a few pounds since then because he doesn't weigh 500. I think he weighs like 440 now. But still, yeah, that would be, even to just tease that and do it again. That would be fantastic. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how long they take Brock Lesnar, because you don't think they were not going to do more than two pay-per-views per opponent. My guess is, if he's going to be such a monster, to see how many people they can line up if he's going to carry it to Mania.
Now, to show how much of a beast Brock is there going to be, do you think they'll have any kind of ring malfunction, either Big Show go through the ring, turnbuckle fall over, something? Do you think they'll have something going on?
No, I think instead they're going to have him like F5 him like 20 times. That's where it's going to be. He'll just pick him up, F5, 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 and it's just, no one can even lift the Big Show, let alone F5. Total Divas Season 3 just premiered, and its ratings was up 15% from last year and netted a 1.2 million views for E! It had the Bellas drama, John Cena, and apparently a lot of skin by Rosa Mendez. Did you catch the premiere of Total Divas?
I did. The Princess and I watched it. We watched it the other night, and I enjoyed it. To be honest with you, they brought in somebody else, and Rosa, which I had no clue who was. So I was definitely missing out on who that was. The princess was asking me, and I was like, heck, I don't know who that is, because Summer's shooting a movie during this time, and so she's away. But I enjoyed it, and the preview, it's just a lot of drama for this season. So I think it'll probably be their highest viewers this season.
Now, what is your wife Amy? What's she most excited about for Divas? The wedding's kind of over now, I take it.
Yeah, the wedding's over. I think anytime that she's a big Natalya fan, so anytime there's a lot of drama with her and Summer Rae, I think she just loves anytime Summer Rae gets kind of put in her place. And but like I said, anything to do with Natalya, she's into. She enjoys that, as well as Ariana, which would be Naomi. She likes her as well.
Yeah, hopefully Natalya doesn't draw any more art for the Bella Twins, because that apparently didn't go over well.
Which she felt. I mean, I feel bad because I know she's doing it good intentions, and if Natalya would love to, make a painting for us, we would be honored. That would be great.
We should tweet her. I'm going to tweet her right now and just be like, hey, can you draw us something for us?
Send it our way. We'll be more than happy with it. We won't talk about it later on and say how bad it was. But have you been catching up with any of them on the network? Have you seen any of them?
I have literally seen no episodes yet.
Dropping the ball. How can you even talk about this topic?
I know. Hey, I'm a Bellas fan. I was a Bella fan before you even know who the Bellas were.
The only way I knew about the Bellas was Total Divas, and
I'm a huge Bella fan, been since the beginning. I need to watch it. I haven't yet. I'm eventually going to get Katie too, but there's a lot of skin. Did Rosa Mendez, because that's all I've heard from people, is Rosa Mendez did something risque or with skin, and that's why the demographics of males skyrocketed.
Basically, she had some, I'm guessing, drug issues or rehab. She went to rehab for a while, so she's been gone. She comes back, and the WWE wants Natalya to basically babysit her, go around and follow her, maybe room with her. Well, she's not happy about it, but she does it, and she goes into the hotel room, and Rosa's like walking around naked, and like she's like, oh, I'm just so happy to be naked and in my skin, and she's like giving Natalya a hug, and it's like creeping her out, and so it's
okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, but anyways, to talk about the other half of Brie Bella, at least we're still waiting to hear if Daniel Bryan will go under another neck surgery, and word is if he does, that he could possibly be back in a couple months at Survivor Series. If not, if he just continues to heal, it's going to be more towards the Royal Rumble. Would you like to see the former champion sooner, Jacob?
I don't know. He would probably be with Brie, and they would continue that angle. I still kind of like the idea of him returning for the Rumble, but if he is healthy, you're wasting the time of Daniel Bryan. You got to have him in. I think if you have a talent like Daniel Bryan, why say, oh, wait till February, wait all these months, when Daniel Bryan, you never know when he's going to come back and when he's going to be injured again. So you got to have him, I think.
Now, see, I'm almost against that. I would rather, if he was good to go today, waiting and trying to build anticipation for it. And, maybe I'm not a fan of saying, oh, this person's coming back on this date. I'd rather it just be a tease, an old-fashioned, like an Undertaker, where you see these videos, you're not sure, you're pretty sure it's him, but you're not sure, and it could be a new star coming, or, I think those are always great. Just to get them starting right out of the gate with a big build.
Yeah, if he's coming back, it needs to be the surprise factor. I think they need a lie to whoever they need to for the dirt sheets and say he's not coming back until after Survivor Series, and then he comes back at Survivor Series. And I want the surprise factor with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, that's what makes any return the best is when you like The Rock at WrestleMania this year, when when nobody knows that he's going to be there until his music hits. I think that's the best return you can make.
Alberto Del Rio took WWE to court after being released for slapping a WWE employee. He wanted the WWE's no competing clause taken away so he can compete in Triple A's event in September 14th. He did win the court case, and now he can wrestle anywhere without question. Does this change the landscape of WWE employees who are fired being able to be gone from the company and wrestle at bigger companies, or I should say other wrestling companies, like Lex Luger did on Monday Night Wars faster?
I don't think this really changes it. I think that they probably went lenient just because they just wanted Alberto out of there. This whole, slapping the employee, and he could probably find rights that it was justified or something, along that it's unfit for Hispanics to work here, or stuff could probably get drug out for a while. A lot of money, a lot of resources, and so I think the WWE was just like, you know what, we really don't want you here anyways, and so we've got no problem. If this gets you off our back, then have at it.
Right. And I think that for the most part, all the other, if you're fired because, like CM Punk's situation, if they would have fired CM Punk, there's no way they would have lifted a clause like this because they don't want him to go to a competitive company like TNA and go and do something like Lex Luger did. So I agree with you. I think that this is a one-time almost situation.
And how crazy is that you see these Monday Night Wars, how just the lack of, contracts and attention to detail, where you had Lex Luger, you had X-Pac, you had, these guys that one night, Rick Rude, one night was on this show, the very next night they're on this show, or they're back on this show, and I'm like, holy cow, like, did you guys not even have like a department to do contracts, or did you guys just kind of throw it all together? I mean, it's amazing what it went to what it is now.
And it's amazing how technology has changed the landscape of everything with that too.
Well, before we get to our special guest for the week, which we are just super excited about, really pumped to talk to. We just want to remind everybody that Heroes and Legends is happening tomorrow, September 13th, at the Fort Wayne Fun Dome in Indiana. And, this is going to be a great event. They've got a lot of legends. Sabu, Hillbilly Jim. You've got Al Snow, Mean Gene. A lot of these guys are going to be here. We're looking forward to it. What are you most excited about, Jacob?
Oh, I'm most excited about FanFest. I'm ready to go walk around, meet some of these legends. Hopefully, maybe we'll get some photos with legends. We'll have some surprises for our listeners here for next week. After we don't want to spoil it, but we'll have some things that are starting to line up, and it should be a very very eventful FanFest and Heroes and Legends.
Yeah, and it starts at 2 o'clock, the Fan Fest, and you can't get much more out of $25. I mean, that's basically gets you in for the Fan Fest. They're going to have wrestling during the Fan Fest, and then they're going to have their main card after that. And you're going to see, Drew Skills, who we had on last week, facing Corlito. Just great matches all day, events, pictures, autographs, just anything you could possibly imagine, and it's all for $25, which is crazy.
So yeah, come down. You get to see some indie wrestling. There's a lot of promotions. So there's promotions from all over the Midwest, United States. They'll come down, see some of these indie wrestlers, even wrestle during the Fan Fest. Jonathan and I are extremely excited for our next guest. He's one of the greatest hardcore champions of all time with 6 hardcore titles with the WWE or WWF. He's an icon of the Attitude Era for WWE. He goes by many names. The 5-Star Ninja, Simply Sensational, the Crown Prince of Hardcore, and even the Snowman. And he is currently a road agent for Non-Stop Action Wrestling. Our guest this week is Al Snow. Thanks, Al, for coming on and taking time off your busy schedule to promote Heroes and Legends with us.
Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Al Snow will be appearing this Saturday at the biggest wrestling event in the Midwest, Heroes and Legends 4 at Fort Wayne, Indiana's Fun Dome, September 13th. The Fan Fest starts at 2 p.m. and the bell rings at 7:30. But before we get into Heroes and Legends, Al, we want to dive a little bit into your past. So for the first stop on the Al Snow's memory lane, we're going to talk about a little bit of ECW. Now, did you believe at the time going into ECW that it was going to be the launching pad of your stardom that the WWF at the time didn't provide on your first go around?
I was hoping it would, and it wasn't that WWF didn't provide it. It was that I went about it the wrong way with the opportunities that were presented to me. And, I went to ECW with the mindset that I was going to basically do everything I could to make myself a star. That I felt I had to, because I basically asked to be put on loan there from WWF, and luckily was allowed to do exactly that, and was able to recreate and reinvent myself in a manner that worked. So, but I went in there with the singular mindset that I was going to make myself a star, enough of a star that either, WWF would pay to get me back, or WCW would pay to steal me, or ECW would pay to keep me.
Now, when did you kind of realize that, your mannequin head kind of gimmick really caught on and started working around that time?
That, unfortunately, I don't think I really ever fully made that connection as much as I would have liked, especially knowing now what I know. I did realize it, and I know, it took quite some time, took a little bit of time, but, Paul Heyman realized it, and then, he started to do things to help it along and to exploit it. So, and that's really how the wrestling, business does and should work.
Yeah. Did Paul Heyman come up with the idea of the styrofoams, heads thrown into the ring during your introduction?
Not the throwing them in. I mean, that kind of just happened. It just kind of occurred. And then it kind of just kept going, kind of took off from there. I just remember the very first night that it happened, I was standing in the ring and I kind of gave the signal and people just started pelting them in the ring. So
kind of freak you out.
Yeah. And surprisingly, they do actually kind of sting a little bit when they're being thrown at you. So,
Hey, at least they didn't throw chairs at you while you're in there. They've done that before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I'd much rather get hit with a styrofoam head than a metal chair.
Okay. All right. So we'll jump a little bit into the Attitude Era. And basically, you found your identity in two things, especially with the WWF and ECW, and that was hardcore matches. And for me, at least, it seemed like you were teaching the young talent. Did you find a passion for coaching with Tough Enough when you were doing that, or is that something that came before Tough Enough?
That came before. I'd always, I'd had my own school for quite some time, and always enjoyed, training and breaking guys into the business, and then, it got so busy that I couldn't continue it, couldn't keep it up, couldn't do what was necessary responsibility-wise, and to be able to have people go around and say, well, I got trained by Al Snow. Well, I wasn't even there, so that's kind of, kind of got dicey. So
Right.
So I had to, sell it, closed it down, and then, I was approached about doing Tough Enough, and that was awesome. It was just such a great opportunity, and such a great show to be involved with, and such a great time to do it for the business and everything. It was just I can't say enough good things about it.
Now, with your current role with TNA, the agent and producer, can you just kind of go over kind of what you do with your roles there week to week?
I produce, segments on television, and then, which are basically matches. I go over what the general story or what they're hoping to achieve, what we call business-wise. Emotionally, try to make people think, feel, or believe at the end of the match, to continue the story, tell the next chapter. And so, we got to make sure that those certain things are done and done properly so that we can continue the story moving forward and in the ring. So I'm there to kind of help that out and to, refine the talents matches and, make sure that they put things in the right place at the right time for the right reason, and basically kind of supervise, and the same with the live events. Go out on the road with the live events and kind of, do some of that same kind of stuff.
Now, do you have somebody? You're watching a lot of matches, a lot of wrestling. Do you have somebody in mind that you think that may not be known as well that you think is going to be the next big thing in wrestling?
Well, I think Ethan Carter and Spud, Rockstar Spud, I think are amazingly talented, and I think Ethan's got all the tools to be a true star.
Okay, last question before we go into Heroes and Legends 4. Do you think TNA has the quote-unquote Tony Romo effect that no matter how well it performs or who's there, it's always going to be viewed by the fans negatively?
I don't think that it's viewed by the general fans negatively. I just think that, when you say fans, you're talking about, basically internet fans. And
right.
Yeah, I think that, but that fascinates me, because I got to tell you guys something. I would, if I hated anything as much as what everybody claims to hate wrestling, that watches wrestling, not just TNA, but including WWE. If I hated anything like that, I just wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't. It would not be worth the time or the trouble for me to watch the thing. The reason that I think that, it's the old saying that familiarity breeds contempt. The more familiar you become with something, the more contemptuous you become of it. And internet wrestling fans are incredibly familiar with wrestling. And so they've become incredibly contemptuous of it. And to the point to where it's now not so much about them watching it to enjoy it, and then they're like any other critic, and that is in that sense that a critic doesn't criticize to tell you whether it was bad or good, whether it's sports or movies or anything. A critic criticizes to tell you how much he or she knows about something they've never done, that they've never been a part of. Because most movie critics have never, ever once acted or produced a movie. And most sports critics probably have never really played on a level of sports that they're criticizing.
Right.
So, it's not about them saying it's good or bad. It's about them telling you how much they know, which ultimately is just to put themselves over. And that is prevalent probably more so with internet wrestling fans than on any other thing, because they want to know, they want to feel like they're a part of a business they've never been a part of. They want to feel like they're on the inside of something that they've never actually been on the inside of, because they love it so much. But because they love it so much, and they feel so familiar with it, they become contemptuous of it and are always criticizing it and always putting it down. Now, the general audience, which is far, far, far greater than any amount of internet wrestling fans, those people I don't think really even know much about whether or not Impact exists or not. And that's partly due to poor marketing and branding, but it's also partly, a large part of it, the biggest part of it is just that WWE is an iconic brand, like Band-Aid or Kleenex. It's become Budweiser, Harley Davidson. It's become an iconic brand in the sense that it's been around so long and it's done such a great job of establishing and marketing itself that that's when people think wrestling, they think WWE. They don't think anything else. They think WrestleMania. That's what they think. They don't even think WWE. They think WrestleMania. And, you know, that's because Vince Jr. has been running it for decades. Vince Sr. ran it for decades. Vince Sr.'s father ran it for decades. So, you know, it goes back in that family to probably the 30s and 40s, where Impact Wrestling has been around for 12 years. It's like comparing apples and oranges. It's absurd. You can't, you know, I consider, comparing your mom and pop hardware store to Lowe's or Home Depot. It's insane. You know, they can't do it. And it has its own place and its own way. It's just, you know, they're struggling to try to compete, and not carve out their own place, I guess.
And I guess I never, really thought about that. You do hear a lot of complaining online and critics and stuff, and you never thought, well, then why are you still watching it if it's so awful and it's so bad? So
let me ask you something. If there was any TV show on TV that you did not like, how many episodes of it would you watch?
I probably wouldn't watch very many at all.
Well, they watch it every single week. So let me ask people that market to these people. Let me tell you something, and this is straight. Anybody who markets to the internet wrestling fans are idiots. You know why you're an idiot? If you market to them, because if the real business of professional wrestling is to sell tickets. Okay, bottom line, no ifs, ands, buts. Is to get TV ratings so that you can market your product, which are the wrestlers, to get people to attend the live events so that they get the live event experience, so that they will then watch your TV product and then drive the ratings, which will drive pay-per-view buy rates and ticket sales and merchandise. It's a big circle, okay? That hasn't changed. When you market to the internet wrestling fan, you're marketing to the one fan that you're guaranteed you're going to sell a ticket to every single time. Do you know why? Because if he don't watch it, he can't tell everybody how much he knows about it.
Mm. Yeah, and obviously with the Spike issue that recently came, TNA's averaged over 1 million views per week on a cable network that doesn't average 1 million. That's amazing still, and no one really cares about that.
It's get a higher rating than 60% of the other shows on cable TV. Do you understand that? That it gets a higher rating than 60% of the other shows on cable TV. Boy, that sounds like it's really doing terrible.
Yeah.
Wow. I just don't know how they can survive. You know what I mean? I just, and my God, over 1 million, almost 2 million viewers a week, nearly 2 million viewers a week. And out of those 2 million viewers, how many of those continue to watch it every week and go online and do nothing but complain about it? That's completely insane to me. I did not like. I watching TV right now. There's a show that comes on. I don't like it. I turn the channel. I don't sit there and continue to torture myself. I mean, how sadomasochistic do you have to be?
Well, I guess moving into Heroes and Legends.
Yeah, let's move into that.
You were at Heroes and Legends 3. Can you, just describe what you kind of thought of the event in a whole?
It was great. I mean, I really was pleasantly surprised and really enjoyed it. And, it was a great show. And, I really had a great time and getting to see all the fans. And it was, it's a really fun event.
Aaron, what are you excited about for the Fan Fest? Do you get to mingle with the fans, mingle with some of the legends, or are you going to be having your own booth and kind of stationary?
Well, I have my own booth, have my own place there. I will, but I enjoy getting to go to these things for two reasons. One, it's kind of like a big family reunion because I get to meet, I get to see all the guys I haven't seen in, a long time, and I've kind of lost contact with and haven't touched base with. And, so it's really a lot of fun. And then it's great from the other standpoint of, I get to meet the fans and get to, really have a great time, talking to them and, getting to find out what I did that they liked or they didn't like, or, that they still remember. It amazes me how, they'll come up and go, oh, well, you did such and such this time. And, boy, it was so funny, or I really loved that match, or this or that. And it just really drives home how much of an impression you make on people at times.
Now, basically, the Hero and Legends, this event's concept is kind of taking some of the legends and facing them against their upcoming stars. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that it's able to get the legends and the upcoming stars both publicity at the same time, and it's great for either one at the same time?
Sure, certainly. That's the way it's always been done. We've always taken the older, more established guys and tried to give the younger guys the rub by being involved with the older, more established guys, And if it's done in the right way, it hopefully elevates and, the younger guys to where they now have a launching pad or a platform that they can kind of work from, as opposed to starting at the bottom.
Now, is there a wrestler that, say, if you come to Heroes and Legends 5 in the future, is there a wrestler that can get you to lace up your boots again, or are you kind of slowing down the amount of matches you're putting in?
No, I'm still taking any and all, I just wrestled on Impact Wrestling a couple weeks ago, right. I think, back in August or something, and then I just did again. They sprung that on me. That was a nice surprise. This past week, during one of the one night only pay-per-views, they sprung it on me that I had to get back in the ring, which I did. And I still absolutely love to do what I do, and I still go out there and I don't try to dog it. I give 100%, and because every time I get in that ring, I love it. It's, and I love, I've been doing this for 32 years and I've never once regretted doing it. I have enjoyed my life and gotten to live an adventure and been blessed to do what I love to do for as long as I've been able to do it. It's been awesome. There's no better job in the world.
And I think that means a lot to, the viewers and the fans, because I did see your last match with Impact, and, you can tell that you're putting it all out there. And, once you get older and, you could have the spot where, people are just going to make appearances and collecting money and then, not giving it. But it does mean a lot to people when you are, giving it your all and, acting like this is, what you do. And so it is really, neat to see that as you progress in your career. Do you, just to look back at everything real quick before we go, do you have you've won many championships, awards, different accomplishments. Do you have one that just stands out over the years that you're most proud of?
God,
it's a heavy question.
Yeah. I'd say that the biggest accomplishment I think I'm proudest of is that I've gotten to, I've been able to survive and make a living in this business for 32 years. That's been you know, just incredible.
Yeah,
so,
I think that's
not anymore these days. Not a lot of guys can say that.
Plus, with the hardcore matches too, I'm sure that took a lot out of you compared to now, where they take chair shots in the back. You were taking chair shots in the face.
Yeah, those. I think they do take their toll. But what a lot of people have to understand too is that it's not just the chair shots and the strikes to the head. I think that's a big thing that people misunderstand. It's your brain is kind of like just a light bulb. All the synapses in your brain are kind of like filaments in a light bulb. And if you take a light bulb and you shake it a lot, what happens to the filament? It eventually burns out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, since your brain just essentially floats inside your skull, every time you hit that mat when you take a bump, your brain gets shaken. Well, what do you think eventually happens when you shake your brain enough? Well, synapses start burning out. So, fuses start popping and breaking, and you start shorting out. But that's not from getting hit in the head, so to speak. That's from, really kind of like shaken baby syndrome, I would think.
Yeah.
So, for all those guys that love to just throw themselves on the mat and take bumps, realize that every time you do that, you're shaking your head. And eventually, it's going to kind of turn into pudding. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that little coaching moment there.
You're welcome.
Before we go, I got to ask this question. What's your thoughts on, I'm sure you get this a lot, the Kennel from Hell match at Unforgiven that you did with Boss Man? What's your thoughts of that, looking back at that now?
Looking back at it, the number one rule of wrestling is to take and make canola. Okay. That's the show must always go on. You've always got to take whatever platform you're given and make the best of it. So, in that sense, I dropped the ball, but it was not, I was not given the proper, neither Boss Man or I were given the proper platform or stage to do it, because everybody makes a joke about it, but it was literally WWE that, when Vince Russo and everybody came to me with the idea, I was like, oh, great, but you understand, you have to have trained animals. You have to have trained animals for this to work right from the get-go. You have to have trained animals. Well, Pepper, the Chihuahua, wasn't even a trained animal, and I insisted that we needed to have that dog needed to be trained, let alone the attack dogs needed to be trained. And I was emphatic that it had to be a group of dogs all trained by one individual, so that you could release the dogs in the cage, and then he could, outside the cage with commands, get them to be vicious and ready to attack. And that didn't happen. Clearly didn't happen, because when I showed up in Charlotte that day, walking around and noticing that every dog had a different owner, and I was like, hold on a second here. And then, then questioning them, found out that, one dog had some obedience training, and that was it. And was just blown away. So we've built an entire story. The gimmick, the entire thing hinges on these animals. And the number one rule in entertainment, of any entertainment business, is never work with actors, with children or animals. And so here we are, where we've built months of TV around these dogs, and not one of them is trained to do anything. Well, what are we going to do? You can't, so we tried something, but of course, like I said, I take responsibility, because, it's, my responsibility to take, shit and make granola, and that wasn't going to happen. So I tried, but I didn't, I failed in that respect. In the respect of the match itself, WWE was to drop the ball as far as getting actual trained animals, attack animals. which is what they needed to do. You know?
No, the match really wasn't that bad. If you look, you take the animals out of it. I actually enjoy watching that match. It's just the animals take away from it because you think, oh, that's bad, and then you take away from the story in the match.
Because the story was the animals. And when they're out there urinating, defecating, and fornicating to the point to where you can't even show them, and now you've told everybody for months it's all about the animals. It's all about the animals. Now we go out there and we try to do everything we can to take the focus off the animals and put them on ourselves, when really all the focus has been on the animals. So what do you do? It's a tough road to hoe. I mean, it really is.
Now, for our fans that listen, are you up to date on social media? Do you have a website or anywhere that people can kind of follow you and just keeping track of what's going on?
Yes, I do. I have a Twitter account under the Real Al Snow on Twitter. And yes, there were some fakes, and I notified them that if I were going to fake being a celebrity, I would aim higher. And then of course on Facebook, I have a fan page and a regular page, which I do post the same stuff on both. And you can follow me on both. And that's just under Al Snow. And then I will be having a website, which will also be therealalsnow.com. So,
awesome.
I just put up ridiculous jokes every day on all of them. And, because I try to make people laugh and entertain them. Because as far as I'm concerned, I know people out there don't need to know that I've got a headache, or that I don't want to go train today, or, ooh, I really blew it out in the gym today, or,
Yeah.
Hey, my cat, peed on the floor, so I took a dump in its litter box. Hey, how about that? Justice served.
Yeah.
So that's only fair. The cat pees on my carpet, I take a dump in its litter box. Tit for tat. But, so I'm going to put stuff like that up. I'm not going to put up that, I got a toothache, or I'm tired and I don't want to go to work, or I'm cranky, or I'm fighting with the neighbor, or, anything like that, unless it's funny. So.
Well, we appreciate taking some time out of your evening, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday there at the Fun Dome. The doors open at 2 o'clock, and the Fan Fest will be there, and you can come and meet Al Snow.
Come on out. We'll have some laughs. We'll joke around, and get to meet everybody, and get to see a hell of a show later that night. So, it's really a good time.
Well, again, thank you, and like you said, we're honored to have you on the show, and we appreciate everything.
Thank you guys very much. I do appreciate it.
Man, I tell you, I was so excited all day long waiting to talk to Al Snow.
Yeah, I love that. He coached us. We talked a little bit about everything, and his mind is just wrapped around everything pro wrestling.
And it is more than what I expected, to be honest, and it could, be unfair to him, but I wasn't expecting a lot of that stuff, and I thought it was great, and definitely gets me more interested in Impact Wrestling, and more of a fan of him.
I can't wait to meet him at Heroes and Legends 4.
Now, moving on to our final parts of our episode, what to watch on the WWE Network. We had another Monday Night War episode, and we also had the countdown had top 10 personalities ever to hold the title of GM. Now, personally, Jacob, I've been swamped at work, busy. I haven't been able to watch either one. What do you think of the top 10 personalities for GM?
Now, I haven't watched that countdown, the top 10 personalities, but I could see where they go with that. I'm sure Austin's probably up there. Maybe some Playa, some Teddy Long. Who would you put up there as a top GM?
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have that. Maybe Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
I could, definitely see your Guerrero. Um,
Ricky.
yep, your Vicky. But I think it's worthy of a countdown show. Eventually, you're going to start running out of things, and so I think this is something that a lot of people didn't think of. Now on the WWE shop, easiest way to support us through our website. You go there, order something. Through our links, but not a whole lot of new stuff on the shop lately. They've kind of slowed down on that. They did, I saw, they may have had it for a while, but they do have the new WWE Championship belt that you can purchase, Jacob. I don't know if you'll be doing that soon since they retired your current belt.
They also have been advertising a lot more WWE apparel that they do have there. A lot of it is on sale too. So if you want to get some old school Halloween Havoc or sold out T-shirts from the WCW or WCW era, check that out too on the shop.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm even, they had some stuff for pets too. I may get our dog something. I was kind of looking into that, debating if I should surprise the princess with a gift that she could care less about. But the birthdays this week, we had, speaking of some WW or some WCW, on September 8th, Raven turned 50 years old. Getting into some hardcore matches and all his stuff through Nitro. We also had Paul Heyman on September 11th. He turned 48, so just 2 years younger than Raven, actually.
It's amazing. I can't believe Raven's 50 years old. I haven't seen Raven in a long time. He has spent some time in TNA, so I'll have to go check that out to see how he looks for his age. For our anniversary week on September 7th, 2008, Chris Jericho won the first World Heavyweight Championship title scramble match at Unforgiven. Jonathan, have you been able to watch this match?
I'm unfamiliar with it, and now you're talking about it. It's kind of just a scramble match. I mean, I'm interested because I've never heard anything about it, and so I may go check it out.
Think of Elimination Chamber without elimination, or I guess without the chamber, and they come in kind of like a Royal Rumble. So every 5 minutes, a new superstar comes in, like Elimination Chamber, just no chamber, and you just eliminate. So.
Okay, well, I'm always up for the Royal Rumble, so that'd probably be something I'd enjoy. I'll have to check that out. Mm-hmm. Now, for our off wrestling topic this week, to get you not to ruin it, we figured we could go with something along with that. ESPN does they call it the Elimination Challenge. Each week, all you have to do is you go and you pick one team, and you're only allowed to pick that one team one time the whole entire season. And so you try to see how far you can go picking and how many you can get right. We started last week right as football season was starting, so we didn't get our picks in last week. But Jacob actually got one right for a change, and went with the Lions over the Giants. I picked the Sucky Bears, and somehow they ended up losing to the wimpy Buffalo Bills. But hopefully this week I will get back on track. I'm sure Jacob will miss his pick, so I'm going to tie it up. I'm choosing the Broncos this week. Who you got, Jacob?
Who's the Broncos playing?
They are playing the Chiefs, so that whole division minus Denver is pathetic and worse than a lot of the divas on the WWE.
Talk about a cowardly pick to try to get a win. Taking that. I, on the other hand, going out on a limb, I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals beat the Giants.
All right, well,
not much of a limb, but I'm just trying to throw that out there. So,
all right. Well, closing out our show here, we'll just get right to it. Jacob, I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. And what are you ranting about today?
Well, my challenge for this week, I'm going to go with the fans again. But I want the fans to stop saying this is awesome for matches that aren't necessarily awesome. Now, Raw, Chris Jericho, Bray Wyatt, steel cage match. That was awesome. But we're getting into some of these matches now, diva matches, that this is awesome because of one move. The move is awesome, so chant that move was awesome or holy crap, but not with the crap. Stop saying a match is awesome all the time, but then it takes away from your chant.
All right. Well, I'm going to spend my 30 seconds. I'm a big movie fan. Always love my movies. And I got to thinking today, PG-13 has ruined movies. You've basically cut the balls off of a rated R movie and took everything out that the director, the creator, the writer wanted in this movie and simplified it so that we could get more people to view it. You know what? Screw more people to view it. If you don't want your kids seeing this movie, don't take them to the movie. It's as simple as that. We need more R-rated movies in the theaters. What do you think of that, Jacob?
Let's go back to the 80s where you could have Vacation where they show topless women for G. I mean,
on PG.
Yeah,
There you go.
Let's do that.
And while I'm on it, let's start cussing on cable TV. That's ridiculous too. If you don't want your kids seeing it, don't let them watch it. Block the channel. Let's bring back the swearing to TV as well. I'm all for it.
Yeah, let's just go British, and you're just gonna show nudity everything on cable TV. You pay $50. Why not? In my case, you stupid. Thank you for listening to Harrell Wrestling Talk. Listen and watch our next podcast every Friday. We would love to have fan interaction, so follow us at Twitter at HWT Podcast, like us at Facebook at HWT Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, HWT Podcast. Feel free to give feedback, corrections, and any advice is always welcome. We would love to have sponsorships. Contact us at Harrell, Harrell, Wrestling Talk at Outlook.com. Last advice we will give you before we leave: if your girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, or husband says you watch too much wrestling, tell them that's impossible. Till next time, Wrestling World, keep listening and keep watching.